Welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najma Lima, but first are the headlines. Museveni optimistic as Uganda, Vietnam sign 5 deals to strengthen ties. African leaders agree on ceasefire in restive East DR Congo from Friday. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa plays down risk of impeachment. And in sports, Ghana loses 2-3 to Portugal. Welcome once again. Now the news in detail. Uganda and Vietnam have signed 5 memorandums of understanding in the fields of education, agriculture, information communication technology, and foreign affairs as both countries move to further strengthen ties. The memorandum of understandings were signed by the respective ministers for Uganda and their counterparts from Vietnam. We have more. General J.J. Odong, on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Uganda and his Vietnamese counterpart, Bu Tha Son, signed an agreement on exemption for visa requirements for holders of diplomatic and official passports. They also signed a memorandum of understanding on cooperation between the two foreign ministries. The Ministry of ICT, represented by Dr. Chris Abaliomosi, and that of Information and Communication of Vietnam, represented by Nguyen Ma Hang, signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Information and Communications. The Ministry of Education and Sports of Uganda and that of Education and Training of Vietnam signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Education and Training, where General J.J. Odong represented the Minister of Education and Sports of Uganda, while Nguyen Kim Son signed on behalf of Vietnam. Frank Tumwebaze, on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries of Uganda and the Vietnam's Academy of Agricultural Sciences, represented by Nguyen Hong Hiep, signed a Memorandum of Understanding for Scientific and Technical Cooperation. Speaking after the bilateral talks, President Museveni said Uganda and Africa in general are moving forward despite the several setbacks. Museveni said he's looking forward to sharing more on boosting trade in goods and services, given the availability of market of not only in Uganda, which boasts of 43 people, but also the East African market of 300 million and the African market of 1.3 billion people. The government of Uganda, together with the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Uganda, CARE International Uganda, plus other stakeholders, have organized a 2-day conference as a platform to discuss the critical matters and build consensus on the future of the microfinance and saving groups in Uganda. Ahumza with more.
Addressing journalists in Kampala, Haruna Cheyune Kasolo, the State Minister for Microfinance, revealed that government is working closely with other agencies in fulfillment of its mandate of providing a favorable working environment to the development of the microfinance industry.
Government of Uganda is also working with other agencies in fulfillment of its mandate to providing a favorable working environment to the development of the microfinance industry. We also recognize the efforts of the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Bank of Uganda, Ministry of Local Government, Uganda Cooperative Saving and Credit Union, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, the private sector, that's SACCO, fintechs and the microfinance institutions, and other development partners in building the microfinance industry.
The minister further said that his ministry is working with the local governments to ensure that all issues affecting the parish development model are addressed to allow the disbursement of funds to all the 10,594 PDM circles in time for the next planting season.
As at 11th November 2022, my ministry had disbursed 151 billion to the bank accounts of 6,000 51 compliant PDM circles countrywide, with each PDM circle receiving 25 million for the start. That every quarter we are sending 25 million. That my ministry is working with the local governments to ensure that all outstanding issues are addressed so that all circles can have access to this planned fund.
Explaining on the forthcoming two-day conference, the minister said that the conference aims at disseminating the findings of the National Saving Group's policy framework study, discussing information on government flagship microfinance programs such as the Myogan PDM and among others, as he explained.
We intend to discuss and disseminate information on key government flagship microfinance programs such as the Myoga and Parish Development Model. Number 3, we intend to institutionalize and the social and economic empowerment of vulnerable communities through applying environment, social, and governance principles to microfinance and saving groups.
Edith Tusubira, the Executive Director, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, appreciated the government of Uganda for the deliberate efforts geared towards the development of microfinance institutions.
The authority is in place to to implement the Tier 4 sector law that enables us to regulate, supervise, and license what is happening in the microfinance sector. This is the only way we can reach our people out there. And you can realize that without microfinance, nothing can happen in this country. Government has been very clear on spot to emphasize the fact that our people out there live on microfinance.
Established in 2016, the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority UMRA mainly promotes a sound and sustainable non-banking financial institutions sector such as savings and credit cooperative societies, village saving and loan associations, non-deposit taking finance institutions, and money lenders.
The Angolan Minister of Foreign Affairs on Wednesday announced that an agreement was reached for an immediate ceasefire from Friday at 6 p.m. in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo at the end of a mini-summit in Luanda. Let's take a look. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi met with Rwandan Foreign Minister Vincent Biruta in the absence of President Paul Kagame to try to end the recent tensions in eastern DRC after the failure of a ceasefire agreement reached in July. Minister Tete Antonio at the end of the meeting said that the parties also agreed to demand the immediate withdrawal of the M23 rebels from the occupied areas. The delegations were received by Angolan President and African Union appointed mediator João Lourenço. The Eastern DRC has been plagued for nearly 30 years by violence from armed groups, many of them inherited from wars that blooded the region in the wake of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. DRC accuses its neighbor Rwanda of backing the M23, something that UN experts and US officials have also pointed to in recent months. It's been 20 years since M23 briefly took over Goma before being forced out after a 10-day occupation. Let's go for a short, quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has played down the threat of impeachment over accusations that he attempted to cover up a multi-million-dollar cash theft at his luxury Kato farmhouse. Nalugo with more.
Speaking at a press conference at the end of a state visit to the United Kingdom, Ramaphosa discussed his government's response to ongoing power cuts in his home country and praised the new vision for the Commonwealth of King Charles III. The scandal erupted in June when South Africa's former national spy boss filed a complaint with the police alleging that robbers broke into Falafala and stole $4 million in cash stashed in furniture at the president's farm in the northeast of the country. It is alleged that Ramaphosa hid the robbery from the authorities and instead organized for the robbers to be kidnapped and bribed into silence. The scandal is believed to pose a threat to Ramaphosa's bid for a second term as president of the African National Congress as the ruling party heads to contested international polls in December. Ramaphosa's office responded in written answers in testimony to a parliamentary panel on Sunday, November 6th, that he has always made it a point to abide by his oath to office and set an example in his respect for the Constitution.
Authorities in Namibia's capital, Windhoek, on Wednesday took down and relocated a statue of a controversial German colonial officer following pressure from local activists. The monument commemorated Kurt von Franco, a German army commissioner who has been credited with founding Windhoek, something local campaigners and historians dispute.
The statue, which stood on a high pedestal outside municipal buildings, depicted von Francois in a military uniform with a mustache, a large hat, and holding a sword. The city council said the statue, which a cat farewell described as a reminder of genocide, will now be kept at the Windhoek City Museum. Aaron Nambadi, a curator at the museum, said that it will be displayed with an explanation of the historical context. Germany colonized Namibia from 1884 to 1915. Between 1904 and 1908, German settlers killed tens of thousands of indigenous Herero and Nama people. In between massacres, historians have called the 20th century first genocide. Germany acknowledged the genocide last year after lengthy bitter negotiations. It promised more than €1 billion in financial support to descendants of the victims, whom many Namibians argue were not sufficiently involved in the negotiations. The removal of von Francois' statue comes 2 years after the statue of Cecil Rhodes, a British colonialist, was beheaded by activists at the University of Cape Town in neighboring South Africa during protests sparked by the death of George Floyd.
Moving on, prosecutors in Comoros on Thursday sought a life sentence for former President Ahmed Abdallah Sambi, who was tried in absentia for high treason. Sambi, 64, the arch opponent to current President Azali Assoumani, faces charges related to alleged sale of Comorian passports to stateless people living in Gulf nations. According to the public prosecutor Ali Mohammed Jonaidi, before the elite state security court, Azali Assoumani betrayed the mission entrusted to him by the Comorians. He demanded a life imprisonment for Sambi, who will be sentenced on November 29th. Sambi, who led the small Indian Ocean archipelago between 2006 and 2011, passed a law in 2008 allowing the sale of passports at an exorbitant fee. Togolese lawyer Eric Emmanuel Sosa, who is sitting on the prosecution bench, said that they gave thugs the right to sell Comorian nationality like they would sell peanuts. The ex-leader is accused of embezzling millions of dollars under the scheme. Sambi refused to attend the trial as his lawyers said there were no guarantees he would be judged fairly. He only appeared on Monday with his lawyers asking the judge to recuse himself because he had previously sat on the panel that decided to indict him. Sambi has already spent 4 years behind bars and was originally placed under house arrest for disturbing public order. Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business in news today, Nigeria has launched new banknotes in an effort to fight counterfeiting and the financing of Islamist groups. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday said the new Naira banknotes would help to control liquidity in an economy where most money is held outside the bank. The president said during the introduction of the new notes at the presidential villa that the 200, 500 and 1,000 naira redesigned notes, which are produced in Nigeria by the Nigeria Security Printing and Minting, have new security features. Godwin Emefiele, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, said that the notes would drive financial inclusion and economic growth. Despite the authorities' stated objectives, experts are skeptical about such results in a country that has battled chronic corruption for decades, with government officials regularly arrested for looting public funds that has caused more hardship for the many struggling with poverty. Experts believe that for the issuance of new banknotes to yield the expected results, the implementation of institutional reforms is necessary. With inflation at a 17-year high of 21.09%, that is driven by soaring food prices, Emefiele said the new notes will bring the hoarded currencies back into the banking system and help the central bank regain control of the money being used in the country. The Central Bank of Nigeria is reported to announce plans of issuing the new notes to the public from December 15th, 2022. Members of the public have till January 31st, 2023 to hand in their old notes. In our health news today, a digital fetal monitoring tool developed by a team of Ugandan engineers has brought hope to expectant mothers without going to the hospital, but rather self-monitoring their babies. We have more on this report. Statistics show that in Uganda, 40 babies out of 1,000 die due to complications during pregnancy, and the maternal mortality ratio is estimated at 336 deaths per 100,000 live births. Stephen Tashobia, software engineer and CEO of Wekebere, said that the innovation was birthed when he lost his sister to pregnancy complications. Wekebere means check yourself can help expectant mother to personally tell whether the baby is in distress, as she sees the signals of its heartbeat and rhythm transmitted on her phone. Daisy Ankunda, the expectant mother using the Wikibidi app, said that when she was 3 months pregnant, she decided to start her antenatal care and went to a certain hospital, but she went back home and worked. And this was because of overcrowding of pregnant mothers at the long queue that was there. According to Dr. Sam Ononge, who has led the Wekebere clinical trial, within 15 mothers at Kawempe National Referral Hospital in the capital Kampala, the intervention means they can handle more mothers even remotely. The developers are working on producing more devices to enable mothers rent or purchase them at an affordable price. That being said, the innovation is being touted as one that could save thousands of babies, especially in a country where sophisticated medical technology is lacking. finally, in our sports news today, the Black Stars of Ghana put up a solid fight against Cristiano Ronaldo-led Portugal, but lost 3-2 in what concluded a bad day for African sides at the World Cup. Ahumuza with more.
The West African side, playing defensively through the first 45 minutes, managed to stop the relentless Portuguese attack but fell short in the second half, conceding their first goal from a penalty converted by none other than Cristiano Ronaldo. Unsurprisingly, Ghana came out on the offensive in response and were soon rewarded with a brilliant equalizer by Andrew Away. The attacking display later opened up the game, and with many mistakes in defense, saw Portugal producing 2 quick goals. 3-1 it turned after the goals at 78 and 80 minutes. It seemed over for Ghana after the collapse, but a spirited fight produced another goal out of nowhere, raising their hopes for an equalizer. The Black Stars got close in the dying minutes of extra time when the Portuguese goalie almost gifted the ball in what could have been a costly slip. 3-2 it ended for the Portuguese after the thriller. The Black Stars will have to salvage key points from South Korea in their next Group H matches. The indomitable Lions of Cameroon lost their first match against Switzerland in the Qatar 2022 World Cup. For Switzerland, their win against Cameroon was a hard-fought victory, extending once again their record of not losing a World Cup opening game in their past 5 appearances on football's biggest stage.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned.